Hello and welcome. My name is Victoria Walker, and I serve as a Pearson faculty advisor. I have been using my Spanish lab since basically the very beginning, right when it rolled out. I don't know, what was that, 7 or 8 years ago maybe. And I've loved the product, and I try to use it whenever I can at whatever institution I'm teaching. I'm currently adjunct at a small liberal arts college in Kentucky called St. Catherine College. I also teach for the community college system. We have 16 community colleges in the state of Kentucky, and I teach face-to-face for them. I teach online for St. Catherine. So what you've come to today, this particular meeting, is about creating activities and online tests. And what I'd like to do really quickly is show you the agenda, things that we will try to do here today, get this information covered. I hope you can see that on your screen. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen first of all. Let me do that. Okay. Now I'm sharing, so that's a little bit better. Let me see if I can find my hold on. The agenda that we'll cover today is basically we will start by talking about publisher content, and I'm so sorry I can't do 5 things at once, or even 2 for that matter. For some reason I've lost let me see if I can't find. I'm trying to share a file, but here, let me show you. There we go. I think I got it. Now, hopefully you can see this. Excellent. I know you can. Sorry about that. Okay, so the agenda for today is we're going to talk about customizing publisher content. That would mean there are existing activities in my language lab. You have seen them. You've probably worked with them. They could be eText activities, SAM activities, testing modules, you name it, anything that's already in there created by the publisher. We'll discuss a little bit about the eText and how to make notes there, how to highlight, point out things to your students, bookmark, those types of things. We'll also discuss adding files and pages and links. Now, some of us want to go so far as to not only perhaps edit or customize the existing activities that are available to us, but we also want to create our own. One of the items that is created most often, I would say, in the MyLanguageLab courses would be online tests. That, I would say, is the most common instructor-created or customized activity that is used. And so I want to make sure that you understand the process of creating an exam, a test, a quiz, whatever it might be, and make sure that you understand how to do that. I have in the past created my own voice recording activities, essay activities as well, and it takes a little bit more work, and I would not advise that. If you're just starting with my language lab, I would say come in very slowly. That would be a best practice. Maybe try 1 new activity per semester or per quarter, something along those lines. First, learn how to use the existing activities from the publisher in their current state. Next to that, start exploring and maybe tweak a little bit the existing activities, the publisher activities, and then go ahead and start creating your own activities, except for the test. The test I think a lot of us need, but the other activities you can begin to customize as you go and as you have a little bit more experience with the actual lab. That would be my counsel at this point. Then we want to talk about how to create activities for active learning and engagement, because Pearson has made available to foreign language instructors or world language instructors an extreme array of wonderful, wonderful applications and programs and activities, resources that are there available for us, many embedded in course materials and course content already. Some are a quick jump over to that application, but nevertheless, they're there for us and they're readily available. We want to discuss some of those and just highlight some of the actual benefits and just to highlight very quickly some of those those resources that we might be able to use. So from this point, I'm going to go on into, let me find my, let's see. I'm going to share, hold on, I'm going to go to my screen again. Thank you for your patience. Here we're going to my Spanish lab. And you can see that, by the way, this is my Spanish lab. Unidos is the text. However, every world language presents in the same fashion. The functions, the tabbing, everything that you see here, you will see in whatever world language text or laboratory that you are using. So it really doesn't matter which one we launch from. I'm just using one that I actually use. So let's go to course materials, and let's pick out an activity that we want to change in some fashion or another. When I have changed the existing activities, believe it or not, what I have done is I've reduced the number of questions, especially on a voice recording. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. We'll go to this folder, which has a voice recording activity, and let me see. Actually, I take that back. I moved it. I do a lot of course moving and shuffling and so forth because I have a particular way that I want to do things. And let me look in here instead in the skill activities, I believe is where it's all located in Unidos. All right, so here we have a voice recorded. You can see right here that it even says voice recording. Anytime you see the pencil icon, that means it is instructor graded. And so what we're going to do by that particular activity, well, let me just open it first so you can see what it looks like. All right, in this case, there's only one question, so it's not like I can eliminate any, although that would certainly be an option for you. It says your friend Daniel is studying abroad this year, and you would like to ask him some questions. You call him and reach his voice and leave a message. Okay, well, what I'm going to do to edit this one, notice the time marker is 5 minutes. Well, between you, me, and the fence post, I don't want to sit in front of my computer and listen to every single student, and let's say I have 75, their voice recordings for 5 minutes. No way. So that's something that I want to edit. I know, right, just by looking at it, this may have been the second time I've ever pulled this activity up. However, and it says that ask at least 5 questions. Well, I'm going to reduce that because again, I'm shortening the time. I want a quick pass on every student. I just want to do it's not cursory, because you and I know as language instructors that we can judge and assess speaking ability, fluency, proficiency, vocabulary usage very, very quickly. And so it doesn't take 5 minutes for us to do that. We can often notice those natural speakers within a few seconds, and we can identify, our ears are so in tune to that. So let's go ahead and make some changes to that particular activity. And to do that, I hover over, create the drop-down, and I choose Edit. Makes sense? From here, I'm going to go right to questions. It always presents with activity details. I'm not going to mess with anything there. I don't care to. But what I do want to mess around with a little bit would be the instructions, because I'm changing them. I don't want them to answer 5 questions. I only want them to answer 3. And so I choose, I'm in editing mode right now, ask at least. No, I'm going to take out at least also. And I'm going to say ask 3 questions so that you can gather more information about his university life in Spain. I tell you what, another thing I've done in instructions is I've tailored it to my students. Sometimes I insert my student names in the instructions just for fun. I might say woohoo or way to go or you can do this. It's really funky what I do, and they love it because they know I've been messing around a little bit, and they think that's really, really funny. So I'm finished with the instructions now. I've done it. The model is fine. I might give a response for that, even though they're just asking questions, so it's really not necessary. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the actual question itself, and I want to do some editing there. So again, I'm digging a little bit deeper, still in the editing mode. I choose Edit for that particular question. And you can see there's really nothing here. in order to hit the actual settings for audio, I hit the text settings. Little tricky, but all that's telling me, even though it's not text that we're dealing with technically, it still is where we come to influence. I can change the score. You can see that right now. Everything is weighted at 1 in the language lab, and of course it's all relative, right? If I did 100, then I'm going to be putting 99 in there. If I do weighted at 1, then I'm going to be putting 0.99 in there. So it doesn't really matter. That's the system default. Everything has a maximum score of 1. It seems reasonable to me. Sometimes I do change it because I've developed a rubric, like on an interview, for example, and I've got points on the rubrics. I've got 15 points. Then I will make changes, and I'll say, no, this is worth 15. It's still relative, right? But at least it's consistent and in concordance with the actual rubric that's created. So I'm going to change the audio input time because I only want to hear them for 2 minutes. They ought to be able to ask 3 questions in 2 minutes. Matter of fact, the more I think about it, they got 1 minute. Nah, that sounds too harsh. Okay, I'll give them 2 if they need it. Many will do it in 30, 40 seconds, so it should be easy. Yeah, that makes me think I'm going to do 1. I'll give them 1. You can see I'm much of a stickler on that. I don't want to sit in front of my computer. I can't do that. I don't have the time to do that. However, I do know that as an instructor, I must assess their speaking ability. This is just one way to do it, one example of an activity where I can do it. But I have to become very crafty, time efficient when I do that. So then I click Save and Close. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to save and return because I'm good now. I like what it looks like. And we're going to open it up again and see what it looks like. And again, this is existing course content that we are editing and that we are customizing for our own purposes, for what we think is best for our students. So here we have it. It says now did I not save that? Yeah, here's my time reference actually stuck, the 1 minute. I think that I forgot to save the instruction change I made, so let's go try that again. You'll get to see me do that again. Sorry, must have gone through that too quickly. We go to questions again. Instructions, edit. I think I forgot to save that. No, I did, because sometimes the box pops up, and I may not see the OK or the save. I think that's what happened. All right, so I'm going to say. And by the way, you've got HTML. You can do THREE. You can cap. You can bold. You can let's bold. And while I'm here and doing that, let's change it to red. Or red might scare everybody's socks off. Let's go to blue, just for a difference. See if that worked. Let me look at it before I go back to the main menu. Yeah, but it didn't. No. Okay. So I'm going to save and return. Let's look at it again. Come on. Preview. You can also just click to open if you'd like. Yeah, how nice is that? All right, so I've changed it, I've edited it, and I've edited the time they can record, and now I am very happy with that activity. All right, so there you go. That's how we can change an existing activity that's already there for, and you can do that for every single one. All right, you can edit virtually everything that's in here under your course materials. You've got it, you can do it. Let's take a look at the eText. What can we do there? This won't take long. There are just a few functions here. I don't do anything really with the ebook, to tell you the truth, even for my online class, but I appreciate the fact that I can, and my students, you know, they like it as well, but I just, I let them read it, let them take care of it on their own, but just quickly to show you what you can do. All right, so here's, if I were, let's say I were doing even online training session for them, and I want to describe to them their ebook, okay? I can go like this. Instead of a cursor, I can use this hand feature to help them read along. Actually, I can place the hand there. Looks like I can stick the hand there if I want.
Los estudiantes y los cursos.
Which activates, okay? Now you're going to hear, this is, by the way, if you didn't know, anytime you see a megaphone icon, that means there's an audio element, which your students need to know about. I push my students to the ebook so often. I also tell them to download the audio files, the media files that are available to them, because they want to have Spanish, or in this case, portable. They want to be able to take it everywhere. It needs to be convenient for them. They can put it on their smartphones, their MP3 players, whatever. So most of them choose to do that. Now, let's say that I tell them in advance, students, you're going to be reading through the chapter, and if I want to take time to do this, I can. And I can say, as you're reading this particular thing, I want you to notice just a few words in particular, and so I can highlight them. And I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to, let's say I have to do this every time. I'm going to highlight every single verb that I see, all right? So I would do that, and I just use the highlight function, almost like a whiteboard technology, and I would go through and I would do that. And I would tell them, hey, as you're reading this, note this. And let's say I want to put a little note right there, and I'm going to put the note, and I'm going to say it. Students, as you read and listen to this passage, please pay special attention to the highlighted verb form, period. And then I save it. So now what happens is every time they see a note, a little pin actually, they can click on it and they can see a note that is something very important that they're going to need to look at. And then they'll see all the highlighting that I've done. You can also bookmark a page if you want, which is another indicator to students that this particular page has some important information here, and it has been bookmarked, okay? You can hide links. You can switch to a whiteboard view if you want. You can manipulate in any way you want, basically. You can use an arrow tool instead of the cursor if you'd like. Anyway, you can see that there are many features here that you can do to annotate the actual textbook for your students if you want to take the time to do that. It would be especially helpful in an online course. And here's how you can get to next pages this way. You can also jump to a page here if you want, just by putting the actual number in there that you know you're after. Okay? Oh, there you go for the eText. Let me show you how to add files and pages and links into your course materials. Again, this is somewhat of a customizing, I guess, that you will be doing or that you can do. And all you do here is I'm in course materials right now. When I click course materials, it comes up to manage course materials. And you can see I have a couple of tabs here. I can add a course, certain course materials I want. I can borrow from other texts, other libraries. I can also add a folder. Let's start with adding a folder. Let's say that I want to organize my content in some way, and I'm going to do a folder that's called, what can we call it? Important documents. Or, by the way, you could just call it, well, I'm going to just leave it as important documents. And sometimes you have to pull this little box down. So I'm going to create it. Anytime you create a folder or content here, it's going to come out as hidden to your students or not revealed. All right? That's just the standard default. And you need to go all the way to the bottom in order to find that particular folder. So here it is. And, of course, I'm going to want to show it to my students. So I'm going to click Show. And now what I'm going to add is I'm going to go into the folder, open it. So I open it. I'm going to do the same thing. I need to add some of these important documents, right? So what I'm going to click now is Add Course Materials. And I've got a vast array of items that I could actually add. You can see all of these. But what I want to do instead is I want to upload a document that I have. I'm going to upload the syllabus to my course. And I'm going to call it syllabus. You might even say Spanish 101, whatever. Now I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to browse it. And on my desktop, I have my syllabus. I say Add. Once I select it, browse and select it, and then I say Add. Now, everything that you add to your course content will also be added to what's called a course materials library. Believe me, my libraries are so messy. I never go in there and clean them up and arrange things as I could, but they're, at any rate, it's okay. Now, how's it going to present? It's going to present italicized, light font. Why? Because it always comes in as hidden, so I have to show it, and that's what I'm doing. You can add all sorts of documents here, how-tos, why study a foreign language, university information, you name it, everything can go here. Matter of fact, let me show you a folder that I actually created. This is just to show you how, but let me show you the existing one that I have, and it's called Spanish 101 Helpful Information and Documents. This is for an online course, and you can see I have the syllabus. I have the media files link for them, tips for taking exams, important online exams, all the PowerPoints I revealed to them, certain help sheets I've created, and the grading rubrics. So those are things that will help them as they continue in this course. Now, at St. Catherine College, where this course is being used, the learning management system is Sakai. So in that course shell in Sakai, where that's linked to their Spanish class, linked to their schedule, and linked to all the university things there, the college things there. Then they come into Sakai, and at that point, they have all sorts of additional resources available to them for the online course. But here I wanted something housed very quickly for them because they will spend 98% of their time here in my Spanish lab in this course, and only about 2% of their time will they have spent in Sakai in that course shell. All right, so that's how to add files. And if you want to see how to, let's say I want to add a link. Go back to that little dummy folder I created. I'm going to delete it here in a second. But let's say I want to do the materials again, and I want to add a link. And I'm going to say, no, I was going to say my Spanish lab, but let's say I want to do a YouTube. I don't know, careful with YouTubes because, I'm just going to do my Spanish lab. All right, that's the URL. I say my Spanish lab. Maybe you want to do technology help or support or something like that. You can do it. I mean, we can bombard them with different avenues to get where they need to go. Again, it's going into my library. Add and close. And now you're going to see the link here. That's how you add a file, pages, and links. And there it is. And then I would, of course, hide or show it to my students. Okay? All right. I'm going to go back and delete that. I'll show you how to delete that. Let's say you goofy. Like, I don't want that. I don't like how that's turning out. And all you do is click it and remove it and delete it. All its contents, it's gone. All right, so now let's say we want to create our own activity. We're still under course materials, and we're going to add course materials again. And in this case, we're adding let's see the way they call it here. It's going to be for us an instructor activity. I'm going to say, Oral Interview Chapter 1. All right, that's just going to be the name. I'm going to choose basic or random. Don't ask me why, but that's what we always choose, basically. I mean, if I did a different assignment or something, I could use those other ones. But for this one, I'm going to add Instructor Activity. Use that one. Now, I'm going to add questions, and I get to choose from where I get those questions. Even though I'm creating this, it's tailored to me, and I'm customizing it. I can either create a question if I would like, all right? Well, the first one is select questions from a bank, from all the question bank that's there, which is probably what I'll do here. I can create a new question, or I can select from question groups. Actually, since we're into customizing, let me just go ahead and create a brand new one. Now I get to choose. You can see the array of types of questions that I can choose. And by the way, I know I'm going through this so quickly, and sometimes it helps by doing. It's nice to see it demoed, but it also helps to see it by doing it. I would encourage you to, from today's view, there's a user's manual. I use it all the time. Even though I've used my Spanish Lab forever, I still go back to that user manual and peek back into it. It's so helpful. There's such great information there. So in this case, because it's an oral interview, I'm going to, oddly enough, choose essay. Don't get too hung up on that. Remember how the text and audio kind of, they go over them together. And I'm just going to say, I'm just making stuff up here. All right, so here we enter the text. That's the question, and anything here is going to say answer. How old are you? That's going to be my question. They're going to see that, right? And then I'm going to add text settings, which deals with the audio element. I'm not going to accept text input because I want them to do recording. I'm going to say it's worth 1 point, and I'm going to do audio instead. And I'm going to say that they have 30 seconds to record their answer. And for the recommended answer, I'm going to leave that off. Although you can use a hint feature, and you can say hint number 1, be sure to conjugate the verb tener in the yo form. All right, that's their first hint, just to remind them to do that. Hint number 2, have you spelled your number of years correctly? Hint number 3, and this is also telling them the essence of the question, right? Did you insert the special symbol for the, right? So it would do something along those lines. I don't know, and I don't usually do that, but let's just say that's what we chose to do. So now I'm going to save and close it, and it's, of course, putting it into the library again. It does that every time. I want to save and return. In this case, you can keep going and set preferences and so forth if you'd like. But here you have now a new question that I've created. I'm trying to figure out where my question went. Let me see if I can back up the engine here. All right, let me try that again. I didn't save it at this point. I'm going to skip the hints at any rate. Let me just preview to make sure I'm seeing it correctly. Yeah, so ¿cuántos años tienes? And then you see they have the recording feature there. All right, so I'm going to say save and close. Let's see what this does. I think I didn't add it at that point. I didn't scroll down enough. That's what I did. Sorry. All right, so now you can see that I have it, and say I want to add directions. So I would say, please answer the following questions in Spanish using complete sentences. Period. Okay. So now I have the instructions, have a question, and I probably, I think I would have not titled that question Tu vida. That I was thinking was going to be the activity title, not the, but I think oh, that's right, I called the activity title oral interview. So you can just, sometimes I just put nothing there, put the number 1 or just whatever. All right, so here it is. So let's save and return, and then it's going to be placed now that it's been revised again into the, updated into my library, my messy, messy library. Add and close. And here, it shouldn't end up here. I'm in my material. I'm sorry, I didn't set up a separate thing. So let's say I would have a folder over here for oral interviews, all right? And then I would go through the same process of revealing them. But let's just take a look at it so you can see it completely as it would be finished. And you can add as many as you'd like here. See how simple that is? Please answer the following questions in Spanish using complete sentences. ¿Cuántos años tienes? They click to record, then they finish, submit for grading. It lands in your task folder of items submitted for grading, instructor grading. So easy, piece of cake. The same thing you can do for essays. If you want to add an instructor activity, let's say we go back to instructor activity again. I'm still customizing. Activity name is Tu autobiografía, your autobiography. It's going to be, now you could choose assignment if you want them to upload a Word document, for example, but you could choose basic and random if you want to give them a text box in order to just put it. In this case, if they're going to be writing, say, a 1-page, 350-word essay on their autobiography, I would choose assignment instead and let them upload it. That way they can use some of the features in Word in order to do that. So I'm going to add the question. I'm going to create a new one. Question title, I'm just going to put mi vida. The issue that I'm having here is knowing whether to put, I would give instructions because there's only one question total. I'm just going to put gibberish for the moment. See what I've done because I want to influence. I'm not liking what I'm doing. All right, so here we get to say maximum score is 1. I'm not giving any feedback. Let me just go ahead and preview that. All right, you can see where they browse right here. And we might have titled this Mi Autobiografía again. We could have done that. And, okay, so I'm going to save and close it. that now I want to get to instructions. I wish that, and there may be, and I just don't know, a way to do instructions at the same time, because it looks like I have to come to here once it's created and add the instructions. So I would say write a one-page, 350-word paper describing your life. Be sure to include, and I would give all the parameters there. I could put a grading rubric there, you name it. Everything would go right here so that they would know. All right, so then they can upload their file as a Word document. I might even tell them what file formats are acceptable. And then you save and return, and then you have it. I'm not going to go through all that. All right, let's look at, and that's an essay. Now keep in mind you could also set it up so that you would give them a text box, and then they would be actually typing directly into the text box. So you got options on how to do that. All right, so let me kind of refer back to our agenda. And now I want to talk about specifically how to create an online exam, which I think is going to be most of our time here for the rest that we have remaining. Okay, the first thing you're going to do to create a test is click on the My Test tab. It's wonderful. You're going to love how this presents. I remember when this format was changed for creating online exams, it was just the best thing ever, and I'll show you why. So here I am after I clicked My Test, then I go to Create New Test, and the name of it is going to be Demo Exam. I'm going to set the type as a test because that's what it is. The reason we do that is because there are system defaults for each activity type. They're already in the system, and a test behaves in a way that's different from, say, a textbook activity or a student activity manual activity. All right? So now you can see that here I've got it up here, and it's asking me, hey, I've got your test ready to go. We know what you're calling it. What do you want in it? So I'm going to choose a chapter. Notice that you can choose from whatever chapter you're testing on, and let's say I'm choosing Chapter 3 and expand it. This is what we love about it, is that I can scroll through. There are probably about 40 different exam modules or sections here, and I can scroll through and see and hear every single one of them. It is so nice. Years ago when we first had this function, all we could see was text. And it was very limited, and it was very cumbersome to manipulate and to design a test, but now they make it so easy. I love it. And the way we get it over is we click on the sections that we want, just like this. Click and click and click. I want to get one that, right, and then we click Add, and it populates over here. Isn't this awesome? All right, so let's say I've got my exam. I've chosen all the sections that I want. And by the way, you can edit these modules, these individual sections if you want. It's all up to you. You've got a great deal of leeway here. So I'm now going to save it. I could print it. I could save it in a lot of different ways. It can be printed as a Word document. I can use for face-to-face class, you name it. But for us, I'm assuming this is an online exam, so I'm just going to keep it here where it is. And now that I've saved it, I'm closing it. So what happens is that exam is housed right in this My Test tab, and it's there for me. You can see it right here. It just created it, okay? So here it is. Now, from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my course materials, because the My Test folder is just a one-stop shop to creating an exam. And by the way, before you save it and let go of it over there, I would make all the changes, all the editing I would do from the My Test tab, because once you put it into your course content, then the editing functions are different. It's a little bit more difficult to make changes, so I would definitely make all the changes here upon creation. Doesn't mean you can't save it and come back to it and open it and redo it. You can, but just make sure before you copy it to course content that you actually make your changes over there in the My Test folder. Now, what I'm going to do is going to sound a little curious, but I want to have a My Test folder over here. They're not really linked. It's just that let's say before the semester started, I created every single online exam for the entire semester, and now I want to have this in my course materials so that I can assign it to the students. Then I want to just transfer this My Test folder over to my course materials, and the way we do that is by adding course materials. And you can see we're going to choose from the library because it's already created, it's already there in the library, and all I have to do is go snag it. It appears as the second option that I have for adding into my course materials, and it's right here. So I want that test folder. I'm going to say add and close. Now I'm going to have it in my course content, right? And I scroll to the bottom because that's where anything new comes, and here it is. And now I have my test folder, so let's peek inside it and we'll see what we've got. See? We've got the demo exam that I just created, and now it's here. All right? So for this, now I get to set up preferences just for this particular exam. I can choose edit if I want. You can see it's going to present a little differently on how to edit. If I go to the questions, I no longer have the nice visual images and so forth, but I see only the text. That's what I was telling you about. So it's different to edit over here. But the function that I want to show you that's absolutely wonderful is that there's a way that I can shuffle the questions so that the student, each exam is presenting differently to each student. Sometimes they even get a different exam. So here is the one that I'm going to shuffle because they're choosing. So I'm going to shuffle. It's not like it's based on a text or a reading or something like that. You can't shuffle those, obviously. If it's a passage and they're inserting answers in the blanks within the passage, it can't be shuffled. But in this case, it can be because they're isolated questions. Then I'm going to choose randomize. Let me tell you about this function. This allows me to say, hey, there are 5 questions, but I want each student to get 3, and each student could get a different group of 3. All right, 3 of those questions. So that way, it's still testing the same target material that I have to, that I'm wanting the students to master. However, each student is getting something different. So it makes it a little bit more, the integrity, it amps the integrity, enforcing integrity just a little bit by doing that, by randomizing each question. So you can edit the exams and such in that way. You create them that way. You can create quizzes. You can create your own questions. Again, it's highly customizable, and I would encourage you to use the user guide right here to dig down a little deeper and get more information there. Keep logging out here. I've got my hold on. Oh, we just love technology. My laptop keeps timing out on me. All right, so we know how to create that. We know we've gone over several things. If we just peek back at our, let me see if I can, never mind. All right, so, all right. We've learned how to do several things now. I was going to recap the agenda and show you that very quickly, but we've discussed the publisher content, how to edit existing publisher activities, how to annotate the eText, how to add files, pages, and links, how to customize activities such as voice recording, essays, as well as creating online exams. Now I want to tell you, please start simple, adapt, assess the understanding of your class, determine how to progress as you go along. You can customize activities so that you can use this customization as a powerful tool in strengthening student outcomes. Again, start slowly. I couldn't say that enough. Share your own strategies that have been successful. Share them with other colleagues as you're rubbing shoulders with them. Create an atmosphere within your department and division that is lively in terms of customization and what's there. And I recently spoke at the University of Rhode Island, and they have a dynamic Spanish language program, and there are about maybe 12 faculty, and they do such a wonderful job collaborating and discussing and working together and say, hey, look what I discovered, and this works for me. And another thing that was so impressive about that, about my journey there and discussing these things with them, is that they're trying things, something new each semester. And maybe they started with one online quiz, then they're moving to 2 online quizzes, then they're determining how to set the preferences to make sure that that we're encouraging integrity, and from there they're going to use some of the activities and the resources that we're moving into in our agenda. The next part here is talking about active learning and engagement, and my Spanish lab has a variety of options for you in that case. And I want to talk about just a few of those. And we want to know that, we want to make sure that we're using the tools in a way that helps us achieve our objectives. We don't want to use, for example, let me go back up and I'll show you some of the possibilities that are embedded. This is Unidos, and each textbook, by the way, has different options of available resources. And I really, though, want to show you, let me just go with me for a second. I'm going to show you what we have called a toolkit. And by the way, you can take this webinar, and having assisted the 90 minutes here, you can then be set up to earn CEU credits, which is wonderful. It's if you're coordinating, you might want to have your adjuncts do these webinars. We have so many that are available for you, and you can then do a project after the fact that would be very helpful for you, for your class. Perhaps part of the CEU would be to begin the process of creating an online exam, for example. But at any rate, there is a toolkit that we have for you. It's called the Planning Toolkit, as well as a companion workbook where you could have several worksheets. Your department can do it. It is wonderful. Hours were invested creating this toolkit. I'm scrolling through it right now, as you can see. But what I'm after is to show you some of the wonderful resources that you have available, and all of this is housed in this toolkit. Here you can see these are listening comprehension things, and some of the things I'm going to mention would be Learning Catalytics, MediaShare, WeSpeke, LiveChat. Right? Those 4 activities are huge. Many of them were available just this fall term, though some of them had been in existence, like MediaShare, and available for us. But those are the activities and resources that would encourage active learning and engagement in your class. And I want to show you, bear with me. I just want to give you a quick overview of each of these so that you can see maybe in the index. There's so many great lists in here. You really want to check this out. And also just what you'll find here are items dealing with like a list of when to do things, what to do, when to do it, that sort of thing. Like here's a 1-month calendar countdown. Actually, I'm not going to find what I want here, although I know it's linked. I can't find it. Let me find it on my own. document. See, Liz. Sorry for this silence here. Just pulling this up really quickly. It's not what I'm looking for, but absolutely not. That's the project that I did. Sorry. I cannot for the life of me find that. Hold on. I may have housed it over here. Sucks. Well, I'm just going to have to give you the verbal on that without the actual, wait, I've got one more idea. Okay, I'm going to go to, I know in this slide deck I had all those things mentioned, and this will give you a better idea. All right, so here's MediaShare. This is how you access MediaShare. You log into your account, you click on More Resources, and then you click on MediaShare, and it looks like this. Here's your More Resources, and here is MediaShare if you scroll down. By the way, not only will you see MediaShare right here, and this is how you launch it, but you'll also see Learning Catalytics. That's the other one that we will discuss. All right, so from there, MediaShare is a great, it's a great setup for actually having your students do discussion. They can upload video, media, you know, it can just be audio. It can also be text. They have options to do that. I had my students pilot that program, and it's just a wonderful visual of, I used it actually as a discussion board. That's the way I used it, and they could do basically any way they wanted. It's a one-stop media share tool, a bring your own device, learner engagement, assessment, and classroom intelligence system, which was first developed, by the way, at Harvard, and it allows instructors to create and to post video assignments, role plays, group projects, and more in a variety of formats, like I said, video, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Instructors can create and post their own assignments or copy and use preloaded assignments for some text and then evaluate and comment on the learner submissions online. There's the integrated video capture functionality that allows the learners to record the video directly from a webcam into their assignment. So you can see how active this would be, and it would encourage active learning and engagement. Now, Amplifier, those study modules, which, by the way, are also found under More Resources. You can get them there. You can also get them in course content. And some of these are at different places depending on the text. But these are game-like vocabulary and grammar applications that make learning fun and effective. It helps the students to increase their long-term retention and master concepts before they come to class. Guess what? It's available on their phones. It's a phone app. They can get it Google Store or iStore or Apple Store, whatever that's called. It combines leading brain science with big data adaptivity to engage the students, drive proficiency, and improve their outcomes. And this methodology cycles students through an adaptive, repetitive process of test, learn, retest until they achieve the mastery of that material. Now, the live chat function that we have is involves synchronous synchronized voice activities to extend communication outside of the classroom by connecting students in pairs or groups. It is like way too cool. Matter of fact, there's plenty of information in your textbook. You can find it under, usually these are housed under the SAM, depending on what the text is that you're using. But the students video record authentic communicative exchanges for instructor evaluation. And they do it in groups. It's a collaborative thing. And you get to see both of them talking synchronously, and they can be in different parts of the world for that matter, but they're doing this drill together, and then you get to grade it and assess it, and it's linked directly to the grade book. It is awesome. All right, let's see. The other one was WeSpeke, and I had a slide on WeSpeke. I must have. Here you go. You'll want your students to chat with a native, then you can use what's called WeSpeke. These are available, I know, in Arriba and other, you can always borrow content also from other texts if you'd like, if you have downloaded those courses into your personal account. But WeSpeke activities are interactive social networking activities designed to partner students with native speakers for tailored conversational practice. And the way that Arriba, I've looked at those, the way those are actually, the way those are structured, it's an incremental approach, or a progressive, I should say, a progressive approach. In other words, you start from thinking about the questions you're going to ask and looking at them, and then you go into, and I'll show you the steps that are taken. Here's actually the URL for WeSpeke. It's extant to the actual courses that were the lab. But, well, rats, I would have to take you to an activity so you could see the WeSpeke. But the first step is getting the students thinking, and then the second step is having them practice with a student, one of their peers in the class, and then finally they launch to WeSpeke, and then they relate back to you for a grade the experience that they had with the native speaker. So it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. You can see that all of these, Pearson is pushing hot and heavy toward keeping our students engaged into active learning. It's fun. They love it. So it's a great method to assess their spoken ability. Now, as we close here, I would encourage you to complete and submit the post-workshop project to earn the CEUs and the acclaim badge for course curriculum. I would also ask you to take a very brief post-workshop survey that will automatically pop up on your screen, and you will be, especially if you're using IE, I know it automatically pops up for me there. So at any rate, many blessings on your pursuit, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Again, my name is Victoria Walker. My email address is thewalker1@outlook.com. That's thewalker1@outlook.com. Let me see if I don't have, I thought I had that. No. Okay. But you can reach out to me that way. My work phone is 502-320-1067. And again, if you have any questions about this, the best way to do it is just by jumping in and going for it and trying. Use the user manual, start slow, enjoy yourself, have a good time. Let your students give you feedback also, which can help drive you into trying new things or determining what works best for you to achieve your course outcome. So blessings on your semester, and reach out if you have any questions at all. All right, blessings. Bye-bye.